If you guys think, why do I look like a nerd today? Well, because it's study time. Hello everyone, I'm Violet, your host, your friend, your little sister, or elder sister, or advisor, whichever you take me for. So, let's begin today's video. Today, I'm gonna share with you guys all the study hacks, tips, and tricks to study smarter, not harder. I'm not making up any of this. All of the things I'm going to talk today is backed up by this book, Study Smart and Not Harder by Kevin Paul. Wish I could have found this book when I was in my school, especially 11th and 12th, because before that I was an intelligent being. I would have been probably scored better. Nevertheless, this video is kind of a summary of this book. It provides every essential tip that this book has to offer you guys. So this video is the first video of the series of my bookish knowledge, where I read books so you guys don't have to, and I provide with all the knowledge that the book has to provide without gatekeeping. Many more are sure to come, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out all the bookish knowledge that all the amazing books have to offer. So let's dive into this video. Let's begin with a fabulous quote that's given in this book itself. Destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is not a thing to be waited for. It is a thing to be achieved. Said by Williams Jennings Bryan. To be precise, destiny is created. It doesn't matter if you are in a school or college or working in a company. You can still expand your learning abilities. Now, for a second, think about how do you sit to study? Just grab a book and start reading/learning, right? Did you know you have trillion upon trillions of brain cells? 100 billion neurons in our thinking brain. 20,000 possible connections between neurons. 7 intelligences. 4 wavelengths of brain wave patterns. 3 in one brain. 3 basic learning modalities. 2 sides of our higher brain and one brain. Well, everybody have one brain, but not everybody use it to their good. Isn't it amazing? We have so much to use, but do we actually use them? Let me quote another shocking study from this book. As I already said, we have 3 in one brain, known as tune brain. The 3 brains are lower, middle, and higher. The lower brain. Lower brain is called a reptilian brain. This is the most primitive part of the human brain because it governs the lowest levels of the thoughts that result in our instinct behavior we associate with reptiles. Those instincts are mostly connected with our safety and survival that have their home in the most primitive part of our brain. When the reptilian brain is dominating our behavior, example, when we are physically attacked or when we are responding instinctively, we have little access to our higher brain functions. They are blocked. In fact, any level of negative stress will have this effect in varying degrees. This means that our optimum studying state of mind includes as little stress as possible. The middle brain, also known as limbic brain. The middle brain is often referred to as a mammalian brain because it functions same as the brain in the most other mammals. It is the primary home for emotions, regulations of immune and hormonal system and sexuality. Research also seems to indicate that the limbic brain is the primary site of long-term memory storage. Also, emotions is a key to strong memory. For example, think about the time when you laughed a lot with your best friend or cried in front of your significant other. Don't you remember everything you said or that day but that the other person said? Think about a moment in the class when one of your classmates or maybe one of your friends asked something silly or stupid and whole class ended up laughing and just grabbing their stomach because the thing was so funny, and you still remember that. Everybody does that. Hence proof, emotions leads to learning better. higher brain, also known as cortical brain. The activity that we think as of higher brain function is physically located in the highest and outermost layer of the brain, the cortex. This is our thinking brain. It contains the higher intelligences such as our ability to think, set goals and make plans and develop language. The three brains don't work in isolation from each other. They are connected by specialized cells and structures that serve as a communication link between them. When in the state of relaxed alertness, that is the best for effective studying, that communication link is open and very efficient. At times of great stress and physical or emotional danger, the connection to the higher brain function is virtually shut down and we are controlled by reptilian and our limbic brain. Our cortex is divided into parts, the left side and the right side. Both of these sides have certain responsibilities to fulfill. The left brain is responsible for logical reasoning analysis, things that occur in sequences, numbers and mathematical ability, language and verbal skills, linear thinking, and rational and empirical thoughts. Whereas the right brain is responsible for creativity, intuition, music appreciation, rhythmic ability, imagination, daydreaming, random unordered thinking, and artistic senses like colors, patterns, etc. I know you might be thinking like, Violet, this looks like it's an biology class or maybe an anatomy class where you are teaching us something about brain that we are not understanding. I know this kind of stuff is boring, but once you know the deep details of the brain, you will understand and become aware of the parts of the brain that are activated when we do a certain activities. But don't run away in the middle of this video. Don't touch that button. No. I bet you by the end of the video you will have every kind of knowledge you need to become a genius student. Now that you know enough about the brain that you can teach your best friend and make them think that you already are a genius, it's time to dive deeper into the most important part, the three modes of learning. Basically, there are three types of learners: visual learner, auditory learner and kinesthetic learner. These three learning patterns majorly distinguishes the learning styles and learning abilities of students, and this is the difference that school doesn't understand. I'll get back to this debatey topic after we have discussed the three learning models. First, the visual learner. A visual learner is someone who learns best by seeing the representation of what he or she is studying, either in pictures or written words or actual demonstration. Good visual learner tend to be strong reader, usually fast but not always. Good spellers find it easier to remember things they see rather than just hear. Second, auditory learner. An auditory learner is someone who learns best by hearing things. Such learners prefer hearing material in a lecture or a classroom setting. Good auditory learners tend to prefer talking to writing when describing something, prefer having a telephone call to writing a letter, become distracted by noise more than a visual learner, have stronger sense for music than for visual arts such as painting, and remember what they hear more easily than what they see. Third, kinesthetic learner. A kinesthetic learner is someone who learns best by actually doing it. Moving, touching, and experiencing something firsthand are often essential to this type of learner. Good kinesthetic learners tend to speak and write more slowly than of the two other modalities, but have confident, fluid physical movements, use hand gestures more often, prefer hands-on learning to just seeing or hearing about something, have difficulty sitting still for extended periods when younger, not because they have any disorder, but because they are used to moving and exploring their world, memorize things better and more easily when they are physically active, such as walking around the room while reciting, and understand things better when they are active out. The most common by a small margin is the kinesthetic learners, while the least common is visual. Yet our formal education is set up to favor visual, tolerate the auditory, and actively discourage the kinesthetic. Think about it. From the earliest grades, the children who are quiet and read and write quietly are rewarded. Those who talk a lot or need teacher to explain things again and again are considered irritants. The kids who move around and cannot sit still are labeled as problems. How come someone who is an auditory learn by the methods that are suitable for the visual? It's just like asking an engineer to operate on a body. It's just like telling a musician to be an architecture. Our education system is really a mess. Instead of dividing students on the basis of sections and their naughtiness, classes should be divided on the basis of their learning abilities. Everyone has been with the classmates who seemed to be genius but just couldn't study, couldn't score good marks. Not because they were lazy, just because they couldn't understand the things the other way. Like obviously not everyone is Ishan from Tare Zameen, but still every child has a different pattern of learning. I myself am a visual learner. I learn better when I see things rather than hearing them. On the other hand, my older brother is a auditory learner. He recites and tells others what he's learning. He literally teaches people how he learns better that way. The first step in being a better learner is being aware of a learning model. Do you remember the lectures more or the notes more? Do you remember things when you practically do them or just by listening? There is also an online test on Google which you can use. I've linked that in the description. Please try it once. Finally, it's study techniques. But before starting this part, I want to clear a misconception about studying that Indian parents love to repeat. A child who wants to study can study anywhere. No, every place holds energy. How can you expect a child to study in a place that's full of chaos? Just like your exam needs preparation, your study sessions also need preparation. The very first step of preparing to study is choosing a place to study. You have a bedroom that's meant to sleep. You have a kitchen that's meant for eating and cooking. You have a guest room that's meant for guests. Then how come you don't have a designated place to study? Your study place doesn't have to be some luxury. It should just be comfortable, not cozy. There should be enough lighting to make you not go blind. And studying under a lamp with the whole room being dark, and I know it looks very Pinteresty and it looks very aesthetic, but that aesthetic is just ruining our eyesight. I have seen our eyes always wander, no matter what we do. It takes time to adjust to the lighting. If you keep two lighting scenarios in a room where only your study table is glowing but the rest of the room is dark, you are challenging your eyes to suffer. If you don't want to go blind, use a proper lighting. Have a nice chair that's comfortable and don't study on bed. Bed is for sleeping, not for studying. Like you see this area, for me this is my study area, this is my video area, this is my work area. I have noticed when I sit here, I get more work done than if I sit somewhere else. Like even if I'm writing a script for YouTube and I sit on my bed, every now and then I'll just use my phone or maybe I'll just start seeing something on YouTube from my laptop. But if I sit here, boom, the work is meant to get done. I'm not chilling out here. I'm not using my phone. Mostly I'm sitting. When I'm sitting here, I don't like feel like I'm just watching some comedy or something. No. These all things are designated to some other place. But this place is just for work, is just for studying, not for slouching out. Second step, do some breathing exercises. You can see on the screen various pages that I have attached. These are the pages of the book Study Smarter, Not Harder. Please screenshot them and do try them. If you're wondering why breathing is important, let me tell you an amazing fact. Our brain consists of 2% weight from our body, but it consumes 20% of the oxygen. Breaths gives our body access to more oxygen. This makes our brain more alert and focused. Also, there's this muscle relaxation technique that you can try. Make sure to screenshot them, please, because they are nice stuff. Third comes visualization. Visualize yourself sitting in a study place and ticking off all the things you have on your to-do list. Isn't it pure bliss? Please screenshot these visualization techniques that will really help you in your visualization. Fourth, paste positive messages around your study place. You see this here? I am a fan of sticky notes. I literally have made this very aesthetic and Pinteresty thing here. You guys can obviously do this if you are a fan of sticky notes. You would know what I'm talking about. Write or take out printouts of the motivational quotes that make you want to study or that make you want to work for your future. That gives you that dopamine hit. You won't realize, but in the long run, whenever you feel like giving up, once you look at them, they will instantly make you remember what your purpose is, what your desires are from this life, and why in the world are you working. Fifth, have everything ready. If you think you're gonna gather a study material only when you are going to sit to study, you are only wasting your time. Your study session is just made for studying, not gathering. Keep your water bottle, keep your pens and highlighters, keep all the notes and books you would require for your study session before sitting down. Because once you sit for studying and suddenly you remember like you're thirsty, then you go to kitchen to get a water bottle, then you see that your younger sibling is watching TMQC or just watching some movie that you have been dreading to see, and now it's suddenly on TV, it's their payment, and now you have forgotten your study session and you are watching that movie. To all the people who have faced this problem, raise your hand. Doesn't it sound familiar to you? Happens to everyone, we all get distracted, but the goal is to be focused. Sixth step, just study. What else? Start studying, my love. It's your life. It's not anybody else's life. Honestly, I'm not saying that study is everything. I used to believe that, but I'm not saying it literally studies everything, but studies actually something. Without studying or without education, I won't be able to speak this fluent English. There are few more important things that this book mentions, and I would like to quote them. Don't listen to music while studying. I know you think that music makes things look fun, but it's just distraction. Especially music with lyrics. Remember the reel where they say like I study better with music and after 5 minutes we are dancing? It's reality, it's not a meme. Another main point, don't you dare keep your phone beside you while studying. There's a study that says that keeping a phone beside you while doing an important task, even when you're not using it, reduces the productivity by 40%. It's because our mind keeps off wandering. It keeps looking for distractions. It wants something that feels familiar, something that feels easy and safe. And what could be more familiar and safe than scrolling reels on the phone? The best way to avoid procrastination or any bad habit is to think about the pleasure of doing it or the pain of not doing it. Here again comes the role of visualization. Visualize yourself completing the task and feeling that bliss. Then visualize yourself not doing it and the pain and the guilt and the regret that it follows. Another important tip is do it right the first time. Tell yourself that learning time is now. Later is for review and practice. And I'ma be accountable here. When I was in 12th, even still when I study, I always had that hurry of completing the syllabus. I trusted my memory like I had a photogenic memory. I was like, I'll just study it once and I'll remember it forever. I'm just gonna revise it a day before exam. Was this move right? It was a shitty move. When I sat for boards, the questions looked familiar, but I didn't remember the answers. Because I never revised properly. Until date, revision is a task for me. You can give me 100 new topics that, girl, you have to study this, and I'll study them. But if you give me 10 old topics to revise, that will be a truckload of task for me. But finally, I'm trying to incorporate this habit of revision. So if any of you feel like you're a robot and you'll remember stuff by just reading once, it's your wake-up call. Another crucial tip is ask questions. There is a very beautiful quote written in this book that I would like to say. He who asks a question remains a fool for 5 minutes. He who doesn't ask a question remains a fool forever. It's a Chinese proverb, and again, I myself am an example of this proverb. I'm not an introvert, okay? I am a yapper and I'm an extrovert. I can talk to anybody, but does that mean I have been confident my whole life? Hell no. I am afraid of being the spotlight till now. I really don't like too much attention. If a few people look at me constantly while I'm walking, I'll stumble and I'll feel like I have forgotten how to walk. And it fucking still happens even after I have been working on myself. The same happened to me when I was in school. I was always too afraid to ask questions. I felt my classmates would call me dumb if I asked such a silly question because I myself called my classmates dumb for asking stupid questions. When I was in 12th, there was this girl who was really intelligent but asked really weird questions. I was always like, girl, really? And she was so confident that she didn't even think twice before asking. She literally interrupted the teachers in the middle of teaching. But no wonder she was only a fool for 5 minutes. She topped the school. And now she studies in the best college of Delhi University, that's SRCC. So my kind souls, ask questions. Your best friend doesn't have answer to your every problem. Remember, classmates won't remember you being silly for their whole life. Maybe they'll tease you a few times, but for how long? A day or a two? But you're gonna remember what you have learned by asking that question almost forever. Just imagine that. What if the question you wanted to ask pops up in an exam? And now you have two scenarios. Scenario one, where you chose to be silent and let the question slide. This results in you banging your head on the table and regretting why you didn't have the courage to ask a question. Scenario two, where you took the step and asked the question. Now you're smiling at the paper because you know you're gonna score good. That choice is yours. Here comes some important steps after class and before a class. Revision and reviewing. Yes, rather than cracking silly jokes with your friends in the free time, review what you have just studied. Review what you have just studied. This will really engrave the notes in your mind. And just like that, before the next class, review what was taught the previous day. Who knows, a question might pop up in your mind that might come in the next exam. The goal is to constantly keep refreshing your brain with older material and making it familiar information. Now time for some power tools. First, flashcards. Best for MCQs and short answers. Simply write the question on front and answer on back. I did use it when I was preparing for IP Math. I had probably made 100 of them because when preparing for IP Math, one needs to learn many idioms and vocabularies. So yeah, it helps when reviewed constantly. Second, mind maps. It's converting the written information in diagram form. I used them in my college exam just very recently to help them a lot when used properly and made fantastically. You can see on the screen the example given in the books. Fourth, acronyms. My favorite technique that I have used for my college exams a lot. I literally made acronym for every question with many subheadings. It's just using an alphabet or two from the various subheadings and combining them to make a different word. I can literally show you how much I have used this technique. You can see on the screen that I have legit made acronym for every other question. And please don't mind my handwriting. I know it's not that good, but it's readable. So it's the best technique. I would highly recommend you guys use this. It's very fun. I know you guys might be thinking it takes time to create acronyms, but when you just go in exam and the question pops up, and rather than just thinking you first write the acronym, you'll remember things. It will feel good. Fourth, acrostics. It's like making the sentence out of the first word. The best example of this is my very educated mother just served us noodles. This is about the planets like Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, etc. etc. Another important tip is about study reading. Usually, when you have to read a chapter, we just open the book and start reading without any preparation. I did that too, but then my elder brother introduced me to this technique, which is also written in this book, which he certainly has read from this book because it's his book, is reading the subheadings before actually reading the whole chapter. Like maybe if I'm reading a chapter from this book, that maybe I'm reading the first chapter from this book, like second chapter, like you can learn anything. Instead of just like start reading like congratulations on taking the first step, long the laughing magic, blah blah. I would rather first read the subheadings like you are the genius. Okay, I know. Then how can you do this? Okay, how is this possible? Why is it possible? And obviously it's not a book that contains question. So instead of just directly diving in the chapter, first read all the headings and subheadings and think about like what could this chapter actually be talking about. Is to first go through all the headings and subheadings about the chapter before diving into details. Read the first few lines and try to guess what actually the paragraph is trying to say. Even when you read the chapter name, headings and subheadings, first try to analyze on your own what the chapter is actually trying to say, what it really is about. So when you really start reading, your brain will be more active. If you are right, then it will give you that dopamine hit and even oxytocin that will make you happy for guessing right. But if you're wrong, it will still give you that dopamine hit. Obviously not oxytocin, because oxytocin is a happy hormone. So it will give you that dopamine hit and make your brain more alert, like where did you go wrong. The last thing to before genuinely start reading is going through the back questions and reading summary. They give the best analysis of what the chapter is really about. Another tip to remember things for longer period is revising before going to sleep. I did it in my college exams a few times, and it did surely help. When we are sleeping, our subconscious is mostly awake. So things keep going in our brain. Reviewing before sleep could be a nice way to engrave the knowledge in our brain. Here comes the writing exam tips. First, sleep a lot. Like really take that 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep. If you think you're gonna go full all-nighter and ace the exam, it's a shitty move again. Let me give you my example. When I was giving my IP Mat and I had the most important exam like of IIM Indore, even before the results, I knew I was gonna fail the exam. The reason I haven't even slept for 2 or 3 hours. As soon as I sat in front of that computer screen, I started dozing off. I was so sleepy. For 2 hours I sat there, and all I could think, I think for around 3 hours I sat there, and all I could think about was just going home and sleeping. My eyes had given up. My head was hurting so bad. My insides were churning because I felt like vomiting. So guys, please sleep a lot. Our brain works the best when it's rested and tension free. Second, never learn new topics before a few hours of an exam. I know everybody gets that urge of finishing the syllabus, even if there's a shitload of it. But this way you are just overloading your brain with a lot of information and a lot of stress. Instead of learning new topics, revise the old ones and practice a lot of questions. Third, a tip for true and false and assertion reasoning question. First, statements that are strong and use definitive words such as always, never, all, must, every time, and none are usually false. Second, statements that use less strong language such as usually, most, often, likely, probably, could, might, should, and rarely are usually true. Third, long statements are most likely to be true than false because it is easier to write true statements than false ones. Caution, these tips are to be used only when you're trying to guess an answer, not when you are pretty sure of the answer. Last but not the least, I would like to quote my real life example and add a tip. I used to love maths till I was in 10th. That's why I opted for it in entire 11 too. But my favorite subject turned to a nightmare for me. Honestly, it's embarrassing for me to tell this, but I just scored 42 out of 80 in my maths boards exam, and the paper was not hard. Some of the questions were directly from NCERT. The real problem was me. I didn't study hard, and I never listened to what my maths teacher taught in school. For me, that period was the time to complete my pending work or finish the homeworks from my coachings. Most of the time, I was punished and made to sit aside from my friends and all the class, literally in the corner, because I was not studying, or maybe I was not listening to teacher, or maybe I was just talking because I never understood what he taught in the school. I always thought maybe he just hated me, but I think he never hated me. He just wanted me to perform better because he knew I had the potential. I was good in 11th, but 12th made me worse. Honestly, almost every student of our class hated him. We would never understand what he was teaching, but the difference between the students who scored good and the students like me who didn't score good, these students still tried to understand what he was speaking. They still tried to counter him back sir, can we use something better method? Sir, can we make this thing easier? Whereas me, people would just sit and watch Here goes him again, here she goes again. Like I told you about that girl who just kept asking questions. And we would like literally watch her asking questions like, yeah, she's smart, we know she's smart. These students were smart as we were also smart as, but they asked questions, they tried to understand what the teacher was saying, whereas we sat like dumbass and just said like, yes, yes sir, yes sir. So my love, instead of blaming the teacher for not being good enough, look at yourself. Are you even good enough for yourself? I took maths coaching by the teacher who is the best in my city. Still, I scored so less. So obviously the problem was me. But fortunately, I don't have to study maths anymore. But those who are still in school or maybe who have opted for maths in college, guys, be serious. Again, I'm saying you, studying is not everything, but it's surely something that makes you confident in life. Remember, the goal is to be disgustingly educated and always overdressed. That's my name, guys. It was a long video. I hope you get some knowledge from it. Please make to like, share, subscribe, comment, help your friends, spread the blessing, and please subscribe because many more stuff, many more videos like this playlist. From second video is gonna be of the book Power of Subconscious Mind. That's for certain because I've already started making notes for it. I'm reading it. If you want to know everything about your subconscious and the trick to manifest think easily, subscribe me, support me. Thanks for watching in. I'm Violet signing off from today's video. Bye.